$37,500 minus the $12,000 for the mortgage rent a year. Now you're making $25,500 a year. One brand new car averages the low end $300, insurance $200. The new cash flow $2,500 minus $6,000. Now you're at $19,000 a year. After food, daycare, utilities, eating out, cell phone, your new cash flow is way under $15,000. And so this is where we talk about black wealth. We talk about black wealth in comparison to everyone else as far as income rates. So as we can see, these are statistics are based on 2016 and 2018. And in 2016, the Asian population, the average salary is $76,700. And you can go all the way down the chain. Whites are $61,000 a year. And you go down to Hawaiian, and what you find at the end of the chain, black people, $36,000 a year. Okay, let's see if that number changes 2018. Okay, we got all households are at $63,079. The whites and Hispanics are at $70,642. Where's where the Asians are? Asians are at $87,194. Where are the blacks? Blacks at $41,361 a year. So and as it relates to everyone else, we are at the lowest of the totem pole as relations to overall income. So Leeson report puts buying power at $1.2 trillion. That's what I talked about earlier, our buying power. We spend about $1.2 trillion annually. A new report from Leeson on the current buying power of consumers of color offers a fascinating look at how we are spending our money. For one, we seem to be eating a lot of vegetables. For another, we are shaping markets. In the report by Black Dollar Matters, the sales impact of the black consumers, the message is clear. While African Americans make up just 14% of the population, we are responsible for some $1.2 trillion in purchases annually, which simply means they are after the black dollar. They're doing anything in their possible way to find out how can we target the African American community. How can we make them so impulsive that they got to go out and get the latest this? How can we make them so impulsive that they got to go out and spend their money? And guess what? Black Friday, get ready, because it's coming every year like clockwork, and they're just advertising to get our black dollar. So what do? How do most people manage their money? You know what's crazy? They don't. To have $1 million at the age 67. You know, you heard that song growing up. If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, what? I'll be rich. So think about what it would be like to have $1 million at 67 with no bills. Life would be great, right? So what did it take for us to make $1 million, to save $1 million? All right? $178 a month. If you're 25, from 25 until you're 67, all it takes is $178 a month, right? But guess what? When you're 35, it goes up, $451 a month. When you're 45, it takes $1,212 a month to save until you're 67. And the number keeps increasing. When you're 55, you need to save $3,880 a month just until you're 67, just to make it to $1 million. 60, it goes up, $8,589 a month until you're 67. And guess what? When you're at 67, guess what? It's just too late. It's too late. You had a chance.
Industry because my wife is a school teacher and she's been teaching in DeKalb County for the past 20 years. And when I was looking at her retirement account, so in the school system, they get a 403B. Corporate America, you may have the 401ks, you have 457s, TSPs, depending on what line of work you're in. I was looking at her retirement plan and it was putting us in a position where we had to work until we was about 70 or 80 years old. And I said, you know what, that cannot be the financial game plan for my family because we have 3 girls that are 14, 12, and soon to be 5 on this Sunday. And I said, there's no way in the world I'm gonna work to 70 or 80. So at that time, I had a financial coach come teach us some basic principles on money that was never taught to me growing up. And once I saw what he was doing, I said, I gotta do what you're doing because I know there's a need in our community because financial literacy is lacking in not only our school churches, but also in our community. And he said, well, Jason, you just gotta get a license, so that's what I did. And so I'm on a crusade to help families create generational wealth. So not how to get rich, but how to create wealth. And in order to create generational wealth, he pointed on some of these, there's 3 principles of wealth that you must follow. So it does not matter if you work a 9 to 5, you own your own business, or if you're even lucky enough to win the lottery. If you don't follow these 3 principles, you will not create wealth. Number 1, you have to save as much money as you can, as fast as you can. And he showed you the importance of saving. Because in order to create wealth, it takes time and you must be disciplined. It doesn't happen overnight. The second principle of wealth, I call it good. And it stands for get out of debt as fast as you can. Because if you have $50,000 saved, but then you also have $50,000 worth of student loans, credit card loans, and car loans, you have no money. And then the third principle of wealth is you want to protect the wealth you have not yet created. You want to protect the wealth you have not yet created. So when it comes down to saving, the goal is to save up enough money so that when you're ready to retire, you live off the interest of your money. That's one concept that was never taught to me growing up. I was always taught you save money, go on vacation. You save money, go buy things. But my parents never taught me to save up enough money so that the interest of my money will pay me whatever I want. So when I got paid, my parents always taught me to take my hard-earned money and put it into this little house there, which is your traditional financial institutions like your credit unions and your banks. And my parents said, well, Jason, if you want to create wealth, put your money there. And that's what I was doing, but then I noticed my money wasn't growing. Because they say, get a savings account or get a CD. Anybody in here have savings account or CDs? Yes. Have y'all seen that money grow? No. Neither did I. And so I was doing what I was taught. But I found out what the traditional financial institution will take our hard-earned money and transfer it over into the global economy. So there you go, invested in the global economy. So what is the global economy? It's anywhere where you and I spend our hard-earned money. Is what we call the global economy. So all financial institutions know of a concept called the Rule of 72.
Yes, sir.
Anybody heard this rule before? A few people, okay. So they call this the banker's rule. I call this the money game rule.
Right.
Meaning if you don't know the rules that the financial institution play with your money, how can you win in the game of money?
Right.
Okay? My oldest daughter is a chess player, and if she doesn't know the rules of chess, how would she know if she's a winner or a loser in that chess match? If any former athletes are out here, if you didn't know the rules to the sport that you were playing, how would you know if you're a winner or a loser in that sport? Same with our money. So Albert Einstein actually made this rule famous. And it basically means if you take the number 72 and you divide it by whatever interest rate you're earning on your money. So savings account, CD, 401k, IRA, wherever your money's at. Take 72 divided by the interest rate, and that will equal approximately the number of years it will take for whatever dollar that's in that account to double. So example, let's say you had a 3% rate of return and you had $10,000 in that account. 72 divided by 3 is 24. So what that means is going to take 24 years before that 10,000 doubles one time to 20,000. So every 24 years is going to double. So in year 48, it's going to double to 40,000. 43% of Americans, when they retire, they retire with less than $20,000 saved. Because of the small interest rate they're seeing on their money. But let's say you see 6%. As you notice, 72 divided by 6 is now 12. So every 12 years, that money's doubling. So that 10,000 at 48 years now grows to 160,000. But now if you're lucky enough to earn what the global economy has been earning for the past 50 or 60 years, which is 12%, 72 divided by 12 is 6. So that same 10,000, 48 years later, is now $2.5 million. So if you had a choice between 3, 6, and 12, which one would you prefer? 12. So that's one thing, when it comes down to creating wealth, you gotta put your money in a position when you're earning or averaging the highest rate of return as possible. So when my wife and I was saving our money at the bank, we were doing less than 1%. It was like 0.08. So let's say if it was 1. 72 divided by 1 is 72. Therefore, it was gonna take 72 years before whatever was in that account would have doubled. And I didn't have 72 years to wait. Okay? So that's gonna be very important. And so, the second principle of wealth, I call it GOOD, which stands for get out of debt as fast as you can. And so one thing I teach people on is how you can get out of debt within the next 3 to 5, no more than 9 years. And it does not consist of any loan consolidation or filing for bankruptcy. It's all about knowing who to pay, when to pay, and how much to pay. And this is all biblical. We don't want to be a slave to the lender. So here we got an example. Just say a person looking to pay off 5 pieces of debt, and you notice their total never changed. It's $2,720. And so let's say they paid off retail card number 1. Hopefully y'all can see that. So retail card number 1 is $220. That card is paid off. What do most people do when they say, well, I just freed up $220? Spend it or charge it back up. But that's not what you want to do. You want to take that $220 and you want to apply it to the next debt, which is credit card 2. So now credit card 2 will receive $573 a month, and you pay the minimum on everything else, and you notice that total never changed. And you keep on doing that until your debt is paid off. So the analogy I like to use, if you're going to chop down a tree, you don't take a nick here, or a nick there. You focus all your efforts in one area until that tree falls down. That's the same thing you got to do with your debt. You focus all your efforts on one debt at a time, chop it down, and go to the next one. Next slide. So without debt stacking, it would have took this individual 23 years to pay off their debt. So with the debt stacking, I showed them how to get that debt paid off in 9 years. The interest that they paid was right at that I saved them was a little over $130,000. Because without the debt stacking, they would have spent $214,000 in interest that goes back to that credit card company or the car loan. Okay? So now that their debt is paid off, they were used to paying $2,720 a month. What do you think I told them to do with the $2,720? Invest it. Not spend it, invest it. So if someone invests that same $2,720 a month over a 35-year period at a 10% rate of return, they're sitting on $2.8 million. But then you live off the interest of that money. So that $2.8 million, you living off the interest of that will